Dear friends, welcome to another episode in the fantastic military world. In this video, we will talk about a major naval exercise between the United States, Japan, Australia, and the Philippines, a maneuver with a clear objective: to show China that they stand united against its aggressive expansion through the Pacific. This Sunday, April 7th, the United States, Japan, Australia, and the Philippines conducted what they call cooperative maritime activity, another way to refer to a joint naval exercise that took place in the Philippine Exclusive Economic Zone. According to Arsenio Andong, the Filipino Minister of Defense, the goal is to ensure a free and open Indo-Pacific for all nations. Participating in this exercise were the littoral combat ship USS Mobile, the Italian frigate HMS Wa Munga, the Japanese destroyer JS Akebono, and two unidentified Filipino ships, which together crossed the Philippine Exclusive Economic Zone from its north. But why was the execution of such an exercise so routine, seen as extremely important? Those who follow the channel are well aware of the Chinese claims in the South China Sea. In addition to demanding possession of Taiwan Island, which has been struggling for decades to establish itself as a free and sovereign nation, Beijing also claims the entirety of the South China Sea, including the exclusive economic zones of countries like the Philippines and Vietnam. Without any valid argument or justification, the Chinese simply assert that this sea, nearly twice the area of the Mediterranean, belongs solely to them and no one else. But the Chinese don't stop at words, with Beijing building various artificial military islands in the region. True aircraft carriers firmly anchored within the exclusive economic zones of those countries, equipped with landing strips, ports, long-range radars, and even anti-air and anti-ship missiles. And as if that were not enough, the Chinese Navy harasses, pursues, and attacks vessels navigating through their own waters, with these attacks intensifying in recent months, mainly against the Philippines, with ships from the Chinese Coast Guard supported by vessels of the so-called Maritime Militia, a force composed of hundreds of military vessels disguised as fishing ships, surrounding, pursuing, and attacking Filipino ships with powerful water cannons, which have already left almost a dozen Filipino sailors injured. And all this is important to remember within the Philippine Exclusive Economic Zone, a strip of sea with 200 nautical miles, or about 230 miles from the coast, which is internationally recognized. But beyond Taiwan and the South China Sea, the Chinese are also pressing Japan, claiming that the Senkaku Islands, an internationally recognized Japanese territory, are actually Chinese territory, a territorial claim that intensified after large reserves of gas and oil were discovered in those waters. In the case of Australia, being an island, that country's economy depends 100% on free and unimpeded maritime routes, and as nearly 70% of all Australian imports arriving by sea pass through the South China Sea. If the Chinese effectively control that sea and proceed with militarization through the construction of even more military islands, they could easily close it to maritime traffic from nations considered enemies, which would be authentically disastrous for the Australian economy, which relies heavily on that important maritime route. The United States is involved because of its two main allies in the region, Japan and the Philippines, with whom Washington has maintained a full military alliance since the 50s. In other words, if the Philippines are attacked, the United States is legally obligated to come to their aid. And that is why these four nations, the United States, Japan, the Philippines, and Australia, carried out on last Sunday, April 7th, a great demonstration of unity against an increasingly aggressive China, with an expansionist appetite that seems on the verge of spiraling out of control. And if you are not yet subscribed to the channel, subscribe and activate the notification bell to not miss any news, criticisms, ideas, or suggestions. You can leave them in the comments.